All right, welcome back. This is a bonus episode. I'm here with Matt Tembo from Inspire Realty Buyers Advocates in Brisbane. If you haven't listened to the last episode, we were talking about all things property. Matt, let's keep chatting. Give us your gems, your tips on how to go about finding a property, and also some tips on buying a property.
Thanks, Locke. Yes. My tips on finding a property is use your head, not your heart. Especially if you are buying for investment purposes. Now, I often get the question, hey, what's the right investment to buy right now? I don't think that's the right question. What's the right investment property for yourself? Because an investment property, for instance, encompasses your current income, your future income, any commitments you may have, like children, like family, or any plans that you have. So you need to factor that into your investment property. So I would really caution people to really put everything on paper right now and into the future, and then from there work backwards to figure out which is going to be the right investment vehicle essentially for yourself.
So using your heart's not a strategy?
No. Yeah, don't get the prettiest house. Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What's some more tips for finding a home? And this can apply for owner occupiers or investment property, right?
Yeah. I would also say look outside your bubble, right? So I think typically most of us would like to buy if it's an investment property, we're only exposed to what we know, which is where we live, right? So we think that this suburb is going to be the best one, or we think the type of property that we live in, if it's going to be an apartment, or if we live close to a cafe, or if we live close to the city, or if we live close to the country, there's all these biases that we have, and that's just because of where we are, right? So ideally, you want to start thinking outside your bubble, right? So imagine another city, another LGA, another place, and this again goes back into the research side of things. How much has it grown? A big part of what I do is that I look at trends, in particular things like government spending, how much development's happening in an area, and then from there I get to make an inference as to what's the previous capital growth and what's the future capital growth. So I think it's things like this where you are looking at the emergence of a new location or a suburb versus again the hard stuff. Oh, I like it because it's got my favorite cafe. So I would say try and look outside your bubble, outside your city, your state, your LGA.
So buying an investment property across the road might not be the best option. Maybe even owner occupiers as well. If you can't afford where you're renting, have a look outside and what neighboring suburbs might be a little bit cheaper that you can actually get in and still be close to where you want to be.
Yeah. I think for the younger generation as well, another concept potentially is rent vesting, which taken off, I suppose, in the last 5 years, where because location is so important, but location can also be a detriment because you may live in a very nice area of town, and it may just seem like too big of a problem to tackle because it's $2 million or $1 million. So again, there is potential for you to think like an investor. It's trying to put on your hat and thinking, how can I best, create value from investing in property right now with the budget that I have, which again goes into, hey, let me think outside where I live.
I like that. What are some other tips around finding a home? Because it's hard to find a home right now. There's not, as we talked in the last episode, there's not as many listings on at the moment. So we got to get a little bit creative and look a bit deeper.
You've got to be creative. You've got to, you really have to be like Sherlock Holmes and try and look in the nook and crannies where people are not going to look. So I find a really good one is whatever region you're going for, really talk to the real estate agents because they've got their own mailing list, secret email list. They've got off-market properties. I generally find that a lot of these real estate agents, once a listing comes through, before they do the conventional marketing, photos, drone shots, all that, they pop that listing onto their website first, right? So if you've got a relationship with that agent, it may end up coming to you first just as a newsletter. Hey, new listing online. and that now you've got 3-4 days head start to go and have a look. Make your considerations, look at your budget before you pounce on the property. So I'd say just create those relationships with those real estate agents.
Cool.
And I would also encourage things like Facebook groups. I know old school, right? Who uses Facebook? Yeah, there is a small proportion of people still using Facebook, and Facebook. There's a lot of groups where it's called off market, X suburb, whatever it is.
Yeah, I saw one of these recently for Tarragindi in Brisbane.
Yeah,
and people just post homes that they're thinking of selling.
That's right. There is a proportion of people who are averse to using a real estate agent. So they're like, hey, I'll just pop this in the community group, and I'm selling my home, come and have a look. And so you could find a good deal in Facebook groups. Believe it or not, Gumtree. So there's always a deal on all these platforms.
I've got a tip I'm going to throw in here. Knock on some doors if you have to. When we moved into our suburb, there were a handful of townhouses that we knew were within our range, and so we just put a little letter in the letterbox as we were walking by, and ended up connecting with one of the owners there. So if you've got a small pool of properties that you're looking at, it doesn't always hurt to knock on the door or say hello to the owner as they're walking by and have a quick chat and ask them if they're selling.
I have to say this one actually works. So I've seen you do it. I've also tried it as well. It definitely works because it's a game of chance, isn't it? So once you pop that little flyer in, you do get people respond and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I definitely want to sell, and boom, off you go. So you have to be unconventional when you're trying to find a property.
And be creative.
Very creative. And you can also use a buyer's agent. That's the shortcut to all of this.
Yeah, that's probably the ultimate hack.
I can help you.
Okay, what about when it comes to buying? So we found the property now, and we've inspected it, and we're thinking, you know what, we're going to go for this property. Like, what happens then? Like, what are your tips there?
Yes, I would say first and foremost, you need to do your due diligence. Get ready to pay for things like a building and pest inspection report. Also, have a look at things like the local government area council website to just to look at what the council deems are the limits for this property. Are you allowed to build up? Are there any restrictions? Are there things like easements, for instance? So I find that some properties may have a sewer, running past the side of the home or things of that nature, which means there's no excavation allowed, right? So it's understanding that, because you may think it's a good idea down the track to build a brand new flat and realize, oh no, there's limitations to this property. So it's digging up all that information pertaining to really how your council works, and then also being informed about the things to look out for when you're purchasing a property.
Yeah, I saw one do a pool on the down low, and as they started digging, they found that sewer pipe.
Yeah.
So don't assume that you can do something with a property, even knocking out certain walls or changing the facade of the home, because you never know. That wall might be structural, that facade may be heritage listed, and you may find termites under the floor. So you do need to pay some money to get some reports and checks done on the home before you go into it.
Absolutely. Even a recent one I actually just went through is I had a client, and we got this really fantastic home. It was stunning look. It was just character home, but they built out like a shed kind of structure at the back, which was spectacular. It had LED downlights on it, fans. It was so cool. Only to find out that this was not DA approved. Right. So because it was not DA approved, essentially it could not be insured. So then there was issues as to if this thing breaks down and collapses, like who's responsible? And again, so we couldn't buy that property because of that particular issue. So it's just making sure you do your due diligence, because you may see something and it just be so shiny that you just get, oh my goodness, I love it. And then
it sounds like a COVID shed.
It's a COVID shed.
Sounds like a COVID shed. Someone during COVID said, I'm going to build a shed.
Yeah.
and stuff the council.
No.
Okay, what's some more tips around buying?
So again, with the construction bit, don't assume that you can do the work. Do find buyers wanting to buy a fixer-upper, particularly for us in Brisbane, we've got a lot of Queenslander homes, that are weatherboard or timber. And people just assume, I'll just go to Bunnings, get some few tools, and I'll just fix this until you
Knock it
find
together
that
in a weekend.
with the boys, until you find out that you can't move the wall, or and in many parts of Brisbane, especially that 5 to 10K radius, it's all heritage listed, and you stumble upon termites, and it just becomes a mess. So it's really important not to overestimate how much you can do when it comes to renovations and construction.
So if you're buying a home and you're thinking, I can renovate this, probably get a builder to quote you with a dose of reality and then make a decision. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Especially right now with the way the construction is, you will get a reality check. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I would also mention is, I think, patience over speculation. Right. So when you're buying a property, it's important to really have, and this is more of a mindset, heart set, I like to call it, check where you need to, give yourself limits, because you can get overwrought by things like, I really like this property, and this is it. Whereas the property market, it goes in ebbs and flows. And so it's just trying to be patient, work within your limits, work within your budget. It's better for you in the long term.
Yeah, not speculate. This is the one. It's gonna go up.
Yeah, this is it.
I must get in. If you're saying that to yourself, just pat on the back, but stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so and just be patient.
Yeah.
And I think with things like that, you need to have a team. So I think it's essential for you to make sure that when you are buying a property, you've got a mortgage broker in your corner. It's also key to have a great solicitor who can help you really structure the contract and make sure that settlement goes according to plan. Right. So these people are going to be great counselors in making sure that you come up with the right.
Yeah. Well, especially from a lending point of view, you don't want to be committing to something that you actually can't borrow, because you'll be stuck with a commitment that you can't finance.
Yes, absolutely. I cannot overstate how important it is to have your finance sorted, particularly when it comes to the negotiation front as well. So I think many people do, think that, hey, when you go out and buy a property, whoever has the most money wins. Or I can guarantee you that's not the case, right? So I've had many deals where I've managed to purchase a property for a client where we were not the highest bidder, but it was a matter of having the most strategic terms, right? Because we've already done our due diligence, we've already sorted our finance, we've essentially got formal approval. We know that we can go to make an offer that is just conditional of building and pest. Yeah, and the building and pest can be 4 or 5 days. So from a seller point of view, they view us being a more sure deal. Yes, we may be 10 grand lower than the next guy, but then the next person has to sell their home. It's 48 days finance. It's just so drawn out that they'll rather go for us because we've got the tighter finance deal.
Okay. So by doing your work and getting ready, you can put yourself in a better place to be flexible and create negotiations that get you over the line and get you the home.
It's really important remembering that the people on the other side of the deal have emotions as well. And typically, if they're owner occupiers, they want that certainty. Got one more tip. So the right time to buy is when your finances are ready and you are ready. So don't wait, for external factors you can't control, right? Imagine this was 2019, right? And you were saying, oh, you know what? I'll just wait for COVID to end and I'll buy my property, right? Property prices really did not come down. So you'd still be holding your breath right now. So because we still have COVID and property prices have not come down. So you don't want to have those conversations in your mind. Really, you want to try and, as much as you can, get, a really good group of counselors around you so that you can make the decision.
Yeah. So do your due diligence, get your team around you, be patient, but at the same time, don't wait for something, like wait for interest rates to come down or wait for property prices to come down, because that's not something worth holding your breath for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great tips, Matt. Love it. Where can people find you if they want to connect?
Yeah, so I am on the internet. So you can just go to matthewtembo.au and you can find all my links there. Or if you're an Instagram person, just go Matt Tembo, buyer's agent. Yeah.
Nice. We'll put a link in the show notes. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for giving us your tips on finding a home and buying a home. Thanks, as always, for listening to Mind Over Money, the podcast that helps Australians have finances that work. Make sure you share this episode with a friend. Give us a rating wherever you're listening to. And remember that this is not financial advice. If you want financial advice, you should talk to a financial professional. You can head to waymakerpodcast.com.au to connect with one of our wealth partners.